This comparative anatomy video is on exchange with the environment, in particular the respiratory system. Every organism has to exchange materials with its environment. Every organism exchanges gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide, nutrients, and waste products. Exchange also takes place within an organism between their bloodstream and their body cells. Gills are an example of a specialized exchange system within animals. Oxygen is going to diffuse from the water into the blood vessels within an organism. Carbon dioxide diffuses out of the bloodstream and into the water. Here we see a picture of a mud puppy. A mud puppy has external gills. Through these external gills, oxygen is going to be extracted from the water and is going to enter the bloodstream. Carbon dioxide is going to leave the bloodstream and enter the water. So here you can see that these two gases are being exchanged between the organism and its environment. Gas exchange is going to be used in order to take in oxygen and to get rid of carbon dioxide. Oxygen is necessary for the process of cell respiration. Cell respiration is a process that utilizes oxygen to make ATP. ATP is the body's usable energy source. Carbon dioxide is a waste product of cell respiration and must be released from the body. In order for respiration to take place, we need two things. We need a respiratory medium and a respiratory surface. The respiratory medium is going to be the source of the oxygen. It could either be the air or the water. The respiratory surface is going to be where the oxygen is taken in and where the carbon dioxide is released. Gases are going to move into or out of an organism through the process of diffusion. In diffusion, gases move from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration, or we say that they are moving down their concentration gradient. Here we see a short animation on the process of diffusion.
Diffusion is the tendency for particles of any kind to spread out from where they are more concentrated to where they are less concentrated. This process can also be described as molecules moving down their concentration gradient. Diffusion across a biological membrane is called passive transport, since the cell expends no energy to move the molecules. Oxygen and carbon dioxide molecules move into and out of cells by passive transport.
Gases are going to move into or out of the organism using a respiratory surface. These gases move through the process of diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of a molecule from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration, or down what we call its concentration gradient. Here we see an animation of diffusion taking place.
Diffusion is the tendency for particles of any kind to spread out from where they are more concentrated to where they are less concentrated. This process can also be described as molecules moving down their concentration gradient. Diffusion across a biological membrane is called passive transport, since the cell expends no energy to move the molecules. Oxygen and carbon dioxide molecules move into and out of cells by passive transport.
Respiratory surfaces vary in animals. They can be structures like the skin, they can be gills, or they can be lungs. Here we see how the lungs work. The lungs are going to be the respiratory surface for terrestrial or land-based animals. In the lungs, gases are exchanged between the air and the blood vessels found within the lungs. Inside the lungs, we have a high concentration of oxygen, and you can see the oxygen is going to diffuse from high concentration inside the lungs to low concentration inside the bloodstream. Carbon dioxide is in high concentration in the bloodstream and is in low concentration of the lungs, So the carbon dioxide is going to diffuse out of the bloodstream into the lungs and then be expelled from the body. Here you see another picture showing diffusion taking place. You can see that diffusion is taking place from inside the lungs into the blood vessels. In particular, oxygen is moving into the blood vessels, where carbon dioxide is moving out of the blood vessels. The lungs are a good example of a respiratory surface. Lungs are infoldings of the body surface, and they are the site where gases get exchanged in terrestrial or land-based animals. Within the lungs, gas is exchanged between the inside of the lungs and the bloodstream. Oxygen is in high concentration within the lungs and is in low concentration in the blood vessels surrounding it. Oxygen is going to diffuse through the lungs into the bloodstream. Carbon dioxide is in high concentration in the bloodstream and in low concentration in the lungs. Carbon dioxide is going to diffuse out of the bloodstream into the lungs, where it can be expelled from the body. Here we see another picture of the same thing taking place. Here you see the walls of the lungs, and here you see the wall of a blood vessel. You see that oxygen is diffusing from the lungs into the bloodstream. Carbon dioxide is diffusing out of the bloodstream into the lungs. Ventilation is the process by which the respiratory medium, in this case the air, moves over the respiratory surface, which would be the lungs.